Black Sunrise, waking the masses off their asses. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Black Sunrise. BlackSunrise.com for the latest global Black news. Black Sunrise News on YouTube for the latest Black news commentary. Black Sunrise on YouTube for the latest live streaming, and anchor.fm/Black Sunrise for our latest podcast where we discuss everything Black. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Global Black News. And in today's article, we're reading from theguardian.com. These articles I thought were really great, but they weren't on Black Sunrise, so I thought we should do a short segment on them, Global Black News segment. And this article was taken from theguardian.com. Okay? Title of the article, and before we start, we use the U.S. copyright provisions, the U.S. Copyright Act, which allows us to criticize and review copywritten material. Okay? Chokehold. Policing Black men and women in America. This is from The Guardian UK, which is a British newspaper, and we're going to get to you later. U.S. justice is built to humiliate and oppress Black men, and it starts with the chokehold. The author of the acclaimed Chokehold, Policing Black Men, writes on how the system treats African Americans with contempt. If police patrolled white areas as they do poor Black neighborhoods, there would be a revolution, by Paul Butler. Let's just stick a pin in this. The white American treatment of Black people, Guardian newspaper, came from Britain. And how the British, historically, after they land stole from the Africans, and then land stole throughout the Americas, and then land stole in India, and then land stole in Australia, and land stole in all the other countries on the planet. You, the British, created this system that the Americans have upheld. Not only that, you in England also do the same to Black people. Because I've seen videos coming out of Britain with police officers doing the exact same thing. You both hate Black people. Okay? Nevertheless, it's a good article. Chokehold, a maneuver in which a person's neck is tightly gripped in a way that restrains breathing. Oh, look. Now, who in their right mind is going to want to choke someone to stop them from breathing? Psychos? A person left in a chokehold for more than a few seconds can die. You think people in the police department don't know this? But you send them to get trained in Israel that are putting bullets in the heads of toddlers. That's where they send the police departments to get trained. Are you one of those people who suffer from electromagnetic hypersensitivity, fatigue, tiredness, stress, brain fog, aches and pains? What if I told you that you can soak your way into serenity? Soak in Serenity, our new herbal bath formula, is known to soothe anxiety, relieve stress and fatigue in just one bath. Visit our store at blacksunrise.com/herbs-page. Remember to spell sunrise, SONRISE. And then they come back treating regular citizens the way Israelis treat Palestinian babies, a bullet in the head. The former police chief of Los Angeles, Daryl Gates, once suggested that there is something about the anatomy of African Americans that make them especially susceptible to serious injury from chokeholds because their arteries do not open as fast as arteries do on normal people. So let's break that down for a second. So, you had a scientist. You're telling me from the opening of this that a police chief in Los Angeles had data on African Americans when you choke them, that it's a fast way to kill them. Here's my question. Where did you compile that data? You know, you'd have to choke a bunch of black people in order to conclusively say that the methodology of choking them can literally asphyxiate them and cause them to die. Which means you had to have hundreds or thousands of black people being choked to death in order to make this statement, right? Black Sunrise, waking the masses off their asses. You see, this is why we read articles and we learn to critically analyze what's being said. And I think that this is really interesting. The former police chief of Los Angeles, Daryl Gates, once suggested, we read that there is something about the anatomy of African Americans by proxy that causes them to die from a chokehold. Interesting. The truth is, any human being willing to suffer distress. Did you hear? Let's analyze this sentence. Let's analyze this sentence. Okay? They're saying, look at how they have framed this sentence. They open the sentence by putting the onus of being choked on the victim. The truth is, any human being will suffer distress when pressure on the carotid arteries interrupts the supply of blood from the heart to the brain. Many police departments in the United States have banned chokeholds, but this does not stop some officers from using them when they perceive a threat. This didn't stop Hitler from rising and trying to colonize all of Europe. Okay? When you introduce psychotic, non-human behavior into people who I already wonder if they're human because of their actions. When you introduce psychotic behavior to people who have positions of power and carry weapons, why are you shocked when you're trying to stamp out the behavior? Why are you stunned when you're trying to stamp out the behavior, find that you can't stamp it out? The United States Supreme Court decided a case about chokeholds that tells you everything you need to know about how criminal justice works for the African American men. 1976, this is how far back this goes. Adolph Lyons, a 24-year-old black man, was pulled over by 4 Los Angeles police officers for driving with a broken taillight. So you need 4 police officers for one guy with a broken taillight. Let's not even go there let's stick to the chokeholds, because we're not going to go that, and we're not going to say that's an uneven balance of power. One guy with a broken taillight and 4 armed police officers who are white, and he's black. You don't see something with that? You don't see something wrong with that? Anyway, whatever. The cops exited their squad cars with their guns drawn. Oh, really? Ordering Lyons to spread his legs and put his hands on top of his head. After Lyons was frisked, he put his hands down, causing one cop to grab Lyons' hands and slam them against his head. I was also a victim of police brutality inside of Times Square Church. I'm going to talk about this. There was a deacon in Times Square Church who wanted me to have sex with him, and I didn't want to have sex with him. So he decided with a bunch of the other deacons, because I wouldn't be passed around like their little pussy, he decided the next time she walks into the church, I'm going to call the police on her. So what did they do? Unbeknownst to me, because I wouldn't have sex with this deacon and the other deacons in the church, they called police. And as I walked into the church, they said to me, "You're not welcome there." And I said, "What did I do?" And they said, "Well, your singing is too loud." I said, "My singing is too loud? That's why I'm not welcomed?" I said, "That's funny, because last week you were trying to hit on me and I politely declined." He got the police officer to put handcuffs behind my back. And you know what the female police officer did? She made her hand into a fist and shoved her fist up my skirt and tried to shove her hand up inside my vagina. Okay? And then pulled it out and sniffed it in front of my face. In my horror, I looked at this deacon and I just stared at him. And you know what he said to me? All because I wouldn't have sex with him? "You brought this on yourself." Okay? Let's continue. Oh, by the way, I went to Internal Affairs Bureau. That happened, I think, in 2008. And I went to Internal Affairs Bureau and I reported it. It wasn't until Internal Affairs Bureau in 2015, after I left the country, after Brooklyn Tabernacle and Times Square Church pastors tried to have me killed, not only tried to have me killed, but they also created a lie, several slander campaigns to blacklist me. I'm not even going to go into them. When I left the country in 2015, that is when I received an email from an chief investigator who told me, "Come and file a report against these police officers, because if police officers are doing wrong, you should report them." I said, "Do I look stupid?" I said, "When I come back to the United States, I'll talk to you." So I got back to the United States and I told her, I was like, "Do I look stupid?" I said, "I reported that in 2008. I left the country." I said, "And in 2015, you come to tell me file a police report against them after I filed the report in 2008 and you did nothing? You're trying to get me murdered." Black Sunrise, waking the masses off their asses. The police officer tackled Lyons and placed him. By the way, I wasn't born in the United States, so anyone saying that the same level of abuse does not apply to blacks who come to the United States? How many blacks in America can say they went through what I went through? Okay? It happens to all of us. The police officer tackled Lyons and placed him in a chokehold until he blacked out. When Lyons regained consciousness, he was lying face down on the ground, had soiled his pants, and was spitting up blood and dirt. The police officers, they opened this article by telling you they tested that chokehold on many black people before they introduced it into the police department, knowing that that particular chokehold had a detrimental effect when applied to black people for some reason. Here's my question. Who did they experiment on to get those figures and to draw that conclusion? Let me tell you, some of the missing black people who they murder. Lyons sued to make the LAPD stop putting people in chokeholds. He presented evidence that in recent years, get this, 16 people, including 12 black men, had died in LAPD custody after being placed in chokehold. Let's scroll back here for a second and read something. Let's read something. At the beginning of the article, the former police chief of Los Angeles, Darius Gates, once suggested that there is something about the anatomy of African Americans. No, it's not African Americans. It's black people that makes them especially susceptible to serious injury from chokeholds. Fast forward, there were 16 people, 12 of which died from those same chokeholds. It is a fetish for some of these police officers because they're into bondage. They're into sadomasochistic fetishes. And some of them fetishize about choking black men to death because it makes them feel like they are getting strength, feeling the life force of the black man or the black woman ooze slowly out of their bodies. It is a fetish you're dealing with, because many of them are into the occult and they practice these satanic Luciferian rituals of snuffing people's lights out. And as their life leaves their bodies, they believe they're getting that person straight. Don't let me go today. Why they're doing this? It's not just about a chokehold. It's about the fact many of them are in death cults. And part of the ritual is slowly stealing the life out of someone when they're choking them to death. And as their spirit begins to exit their bodies, they believe that you suck the spirit out of them and it gives you power. Let's break this shit down today. Why they still do this shit? They don't give a shit about what the fucking Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court doesn't rule on Satanism and Luciferian death cult practices. Now I could tell you what I really want to say. Black Sunrise, waking the masses off their asses. But there are ancestral ways of dealing with this shit.